Okay, now it's time to dress this content up with some CSS. So we'll start by establishing a new CSS style sheet. So I'm just going to go over to my CSS designer panel and we'll initiate a new style sheet, create a new CSS file, and I will browse for my root folder. And again, I'll just click site root here, and I have a folder called CSS, so I'm going to drop it in there. And I'm just going to call it last name, lesson 10. Now I have one like that already, so I'm going to call it B. Okay, my example already exists there, but we're making a brand new one from scratch. Save that and click OK. All right, so I could start in a few places, but I think maybe I'll just start with some of the default features that pertain to the body tag. So let's just start by adding a body tag selector here. And I'm just going to type that in manually and hit my tab key to enter that. Oh, actually I have to hit my return key. My tab key deleted it. One more time with feeling, body. There we go. And there's a few things I want to do. I want to get rid of the margins so that you see this little gap around the edges. We want to get rid of that gap. And I want to set a default font, color, and size, and maybe we'll throw in that very light colored background as well. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the show set. And I guess I'll start with the text here. Color, yeah, I'll keep it as black. Background's fairly light and light gray. Font family, I'm going to go with the Gotham Helvetica, new Helvetica set. And let's see here for font size. I think I'll make that 14 to start with, 14 pixels. And I'll just drag that up. There we go. And let's see here. I guess that's good for the fonts. Let's go throw in a background. So I'll just go to my link to background image here, browse. Again, I am going to be extra cautious here and click on site root. And I know it's this one, BW underscore background underscore LT. Open that, and then I need to set the size for that. And the size setting we're going to use is called cover. That will retain its original proportion, and it will always try to fill the screen as best as possible. So we'll set that to cover. Now at this point, I might be better off setting this to live mode so that I can more accurately see what we have so far. Okay, I'm going to do a save all, which saves not only the HTML but the CSS, of course. And it might even be worthy just taking a very quick look here in my browser. Okay, so this is where we're at so far. We're getting there slowly but surely. So there's my background, right? And if I resize my browser window, it should adjust to some degree. Okay, and let's see here. And there's the rest of my content, just in sequence still. All right, here's my original finished file as well. Okay, so let's go back to Dreamweaver and continue on here. All right, I did say I would get rid of the margins and stuff, so let's go down to, I'll go up to layout here. I will expressly set 0 pixels. Okay, there we go, 0px. There we have it. Now all of my margins are tightened. Save all. Okay. So now it's a little tighter, and we have a background image. We have default fonts and sizes and colors. Just some basic features for the entire page. Okay. If I go back to live mode here, there we go. And yet things are tight, but we will address all of those as we go. So if I just click show set here, we can see what we've done. Again, we've established 0 pixel margins for the page, some fonts, and a background image. Okay. I guess the next thing we'll do is we'll address the nav. All right. So if I go over to my finished file, we'll just take a quick look there. I've got a number of class styles addressing the nav. Probably the nav list item link is the most comprehensive, and then I have one for the hover, one for the list item, the list, and the bar itself. So let's start with the bar. I'll take a quick review there, which is the nav tag itself up at the top. We're going to set the color, the background. I will establish a width. We will fix it to the top so that it does not scroll with the content. And we're going to set the top to 0 pixels from the top, and that's what attaches it to the top. Then we'll add a gradient background and this cool little drop shadow at the bottom. Okay, so let's go over to our index file and initiate that. So I'm going to start just by declaring, let's see, I'll declare the first tag. I'll call it navigation. And in fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go in here into my code view. It will be attached to the nav tag. So I'm actually going to go put it in manually right now. I'm going to go inside of that opening tag, leave a space, and declare a class. And I'll manually type in navigation. The reason I'm doing this in this sequence is that once I apply some properties to that, it will appear immediately on my page. Okay, so I'm good with that. Let's go back over to our CSS designer here and add that now. So I can see it there came up as a hint. I'm just going to shorten that list. Dot navigation, hit my return key. And we'll start again by, I guess we can start by adding a background. So I'll turn off show set. I'm just going to lift this up a bit here. Go to my background settings, and we were going to put in a gradient background. So let's see here, gradient right here. And I'm going to start just with black and white. I'll actually go black to gray. So this one that's red currently, I'm going to set to black. And the white one, I will just make it nearly white, but just a hint of gray there. Okay. Now I also want it to go horizontally, not vertically. And you can see here we have degrees, right? I can drag that, and or I can type it in. I'm just going to go 90 degrees, which is a horizontal. There's either 90 or 270, and that will direct the direction of the ramp. I'm going to hit my return key now. It'll either be the opposite of what I want or exactly what I want. And it's exactly what I want, which was the dark element over on the right side and the light element over on the left side. Okay, so that takes care of that. Let's just do a save all here. And let's attach it to the top now. Okay, and let's go back to our layouts here. And that would be a position setting. Position set to fixed. And then we will declare exactly where it gets fixed to. And you'll notice it did shrink. We will address that. I'm going to set it to 0 pixels from the top. So I'm just going to hit my return key here. Okay. And let's go and set the width to 100%. You can see here how it got quite narrow. I'm going to set this to percentage. And we'll drag that out to 100%. And you can see how it expands. And I'm just going to get that perfectly 100%. Okay, save all. Now I'm just going to add that other decorative element, which is the drop shadow. I believe that's a background feature. Box shadow. There we go. So I just want mine to be vertical. So I'll leave the horizontal at 0, but the vertical, I'm going to drag that out. And it'll start with a black line representing the shadow. And I want to soften that, so I'm going to increase the blur. About like that. Okay, so you can fine tune that all you want. I'm going by eye here. And I will officially, it does default to black, but I'm going to officially declare it as black. Okay, and you don't necessarily need to use black, but in this case, that is graphically working. Okay, again, I will hit save all. Quick view in the browser. And we're getting there. Okay, so we've got our nav bar set. We've got it fixed. If I scroll, it does not scroll with the rest of the content. However, you may have noticed that now the content does flow underneath it, right? So ultimately, we're going to need to push this content down. But I guess the next thing we'll do is we'll actually address the list and turn that into 4 little block elements that will be little square buttons. Okay, so back to Dreamweaver we go. And we'll address the list now. Okay, so I will create a new selector here, and I'll start with the nav list, and it just takes care of a little bit of cleaning things up. It's going to eliminate all the padding and the margins, And I'm going to get rid of the bullets as well. So again, I'm going to initiate the class style inside of the code view here. And it's the opening list style that I want to affect. So I'm going to leave a space, class equals, and we'll just call this one nav list. All right, this is just for a couple of generic features for the most part. Okay, so it's declared here, but I still have to create it over here, and then the properties will attach to that specific class. Okay, so we'll just click here, and I'm just going to shorten this to the .nav list declaration, hit my enter key, and turn off show set. And maybe again the first thing we'll do is get rid of those bullets. And let's see here, if I just go down here, list style type, it's a kind of an obscure one here, list style type. I'm going to click on there and just click none. Okay, and you saw the bullets have disappeared. Now let's just deal with the generic padding and margin. Here's the thing, I want to make another class style called nav list item, which will attach to each of the list items. And then I want to make it even more specific to say if it's a link, which would be nav list item space A, and it's in that declared class style that I want to establish the buttons and the button sizes to turn each of these line items into block elements and make them little square buttons. Okay, it's a bit of an explanation there, but so I'm just kind of doing a little house cleaning to clear the space to allow for that. So let's go up to layout here, and I'll just set my padding and margins to 0, so that's 0px in the shortcut for margins, and I'll do the same for padding. 0px, there we go, and you saw how that's just tightening up the space. And if I click on show set, we've got our padding and margins set to 0, and we got rid of the bullets. That's all I'm going to do there. Okay, so I'm just going to do a save all. And I guess the next one is we'll actually add another class style that will address the list items. So I am going to go in here, and I'm going to show you a little trick here because I want to add the exact same code to these similar elements. There's a really cool feature. I'm going to add a class style, right? And I'm going to call it nav list item. So if I click right here where I want to do the insert, and I hold my option key down on the Mac, which would be the Alt key on the PC, watch when I drag downwards. It actually multiplies that insert. So instead of typing this out 4 times or copying and pasting, you can see how I have an insert point. It's just a little shortcut feature in Dreamweaver, and I'm going to leave a space and declare my class, class equals, and then quote marks, and I'll call this one nav list item. Okay, nav list item. There we go. A little shortcut. If you didn't know that, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but it does speed things up a little bit. And now let's actually declare that new class style called nav list item. So I'm just going to click my add button here, and I see it's part of that suggested name. I'll just shorten that to .nav list item, hit my enter key, and we can start to style that. Okay, so if I do go over here, let's take a quick look at the finished file. Nav list item. In here, actually, you know what? I'm going to leave that for now because I want to see it's going to create a float, but I want you to see that after we create some effects. So we're going to jump straight to the nav list item A. On that one, we're going to change the display feature of each list item, which happens to be a link, into a block. That's what will allow us to create the square space around the block based on padding, basically, as you see here. So I'm going 16 pixels around. That's creating the block area. And just declaring a custom font settings. And we're going to remove the underline as well. That's what this is. Okay, so let's go back to our file in progress here. And I'm going to turn off show set. And I'm going to actually skip this for now. Like I said, I'll come back to it. But I'm going to add another one here. And it'll be nav list item, but I'm going to append that, okay, with a space and letter A representing links, and then hit my enter key. All right, so any link that happens to be nested in the class style called nav list item will have the following properties. So we will start with the display. This is the critical setting. We want to change these inline elements to block level elements. So here we go, block. All right, and again, that's what will permit me to create space around all of these. So now that I have it set as a block, watch what happens here when I come in to the padding. Okay, I did say I was going to make it 16 all around, so I guess I'll cut to the chase. But you can make it unique to each side, okay? But if I come in my shorthand here, and I'll say 16px and hit my enter key, it created space all around those. There's an invisible divider between each. These are all now little boxes. And I can prove that because I'm going to do a background color change here, okay? We'll do that on the nav list item hover feature, all right? If I click show set here, oh, I did say I was going to change the font. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Change the font, the color, and get rid of that decorative underline. So let's go over to fonts. And color, I will officially declare black. And font family, I'm going to stick with the Gotham Helvetica, but we're going to make these bigger. I think I'll go with 18 for now. So I'll go click on pixels here. Oh, I'm on the wrong property. Here we go, pixels. And I'll drag that up to 18. And again, I reserve the right to change this at any point, but 18. And let's get rid of the text decoration right here. We'll say none. That will get rid of the underline. There we go. Okay, so let's do a save all. And we'll proceed to the rollover feature. Okay, and that is another subclass, if you will. So I'm just going to create another new class style here. This one I don't have to add because, again, these are all subsets of the nav list item. So we'll start by clicking add here, and I'll manually type it in. Nav list item space A, and for the mouse over feature it's called a hover, and that's declared with a colon. And you can see here my code hints are giving me suggestions, and hover is one of those options. All right, let me hit my enter key. So this is when my mouse goes over it. Anything I change in here will be reflected. So I'm just going to change the background color. And let's see here. I will go with a, I'll just go with sort of a medium to dark gray like this. Well, we'll just start with that. Okay, I'll hit my enter key, and if I mouse over, there we go. Now it looks like a gradient. It's an illusion. It's actually a solid color. But there we have our mouse over. So the last thing we want to do, of course, is put these in a row and not in a column. Okay, so that ultimately brings me back to nav list item here. I'm going to save before I do that though. Save all. And let's put these now in a nice row, which will again dictate the X height of that container, the nav. Okay, so nav list item, returning to that. And I did say I want to float those. So that would be just down here. Under position, we got float. So I'm going to go float left. And because it's declared to the whole list, actually this should be on nav list item, it will float them all because they're all using that same declared class style. So let's hit the float left button. There we go. There's our beautiful navigation bar. Okay, and that part is now complete. All right, definitely saving that. Save all. So the nav bar is done. Now we will address the rest of the content.